lining up for a chance to vote on Newcastle's horse racing future.
What do you hope the outcome is?
Well, I hope it's the yes vote, that we be able to go to the 11.2 million.
It's take the deal, make sure you keep as much hand on it as you can, but inevitably take the deal.
By the time last night's AGM had come around, even the vote's staunchest adversaries had changed their tune. Now, the $11.2 million in funding will be spent on an upgrade of the track and the addition of a second grass track. Racing New South Wales Chief Executive Peter V'landys was on hand, pushing the importance of the windfall. It was then over to the members, the future of the Newcastle Jockey Club in their hands. After the votes were tallied behind closed doors, the board returned with the news.
It's an absolute resounding result. I was hoping that we could win if we got the number of members here, but to think there's 97%.
We've achieved a fantastic result. We, the membership in the club, have achieved this result tonight. I'm just thrilled. I'm over the moon.
Racing was back in action today. Those in the know more than impressed with the decision.
It's just going to be like being in Newmarket, England, or at Flemington in Victoria. It's going to be a real pleasure to be here.
That little bit of money going into it, I think it's going to be a big help.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News. It's his defining international performance.
He's ridden about 6 times 6 World Cups for Australia, but this was the first medal. So it's a breakthrough in that area, to actually be on the podium.
The Kieran final at the recent Glasgow World Cup wasn't short of drama. Lewis narrowly avoided disaster when Olympic sprint champion Jason Kenny crashed on the back straight, but managed to stay upright to collect his maiden international medal. Currently representing the Australian Institute of Sport at the Oceania Championships, the Lake Macquarie product has a big year ahead.
Big year coming up, with Worlds in Belarus later on and another World Cup coming up in Mexico.
Meanwhile, runner Nat Heath is back on home soil after the New York Marathon was cancelled because of Hurricane Sandy.
I honestly think it was the right call. Being over there and seeing the locals, it was quite clear that they didn't want us to do the race.
After helping with the cleanup, Heath was on holiday in Chicago when he decided to put months of preparation to good use.
It's called the Chicago Perfect 10, so I just signed up that day, did the 10 mile, and I was lucky enough I come first in the mail, so I was pretty stoked. My missus said, don't come home unless you win.
He's now targeting the Hobart Marathon early next year. Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
It's almost 2 years to the day since the former state Labor government pulled the pin on Tilligra, but not one of the 6,000 hectares of land earmarked for the dam has been sold.
If you've been given an assurance that Tilligra Dam won't go ahead, the whole of the Tilligra precinct should be sold.
Delays in allowing former owners to buy back their land are continuing to spark speculation of a hidden agenda.
I think Hunter Water they originally stalled on selling the land because there was a change in government and they thought they would be able to keep the land.
Hunter Water has been delaying the buyback scheme that was promised a year and a half ago because they still hold a candle for Tilligra Dam.
The Water Authority has made moves to develop a land use plan it claims will map out the site's future, but lobbyists believe that's just a decoy.
This whole land use plan, if it is left with Hunter Water, it will go on for years.
According to Hunter Water, no one was available for interview today. Instead, the company released a statement saying only that the sale of land will be considered in the land use strategy.
More important than just having the land up for sale is implementing a process where all key stakeholders get together and agree on a process and agree on a way of selling the land.
Kath Landers, NBN News.
These courses are being cut or being forced to charge fees as high as $12,500 because the coalition is robbing them of funding.
Some courses may disappear. That's simply because people aren't prepared to pay the fees required for them.
The current Hunter VTech site is looking a little worse for wear these days. Its heritage listing means Hunter Valley Training Company is limited in how it can improve and expand the skills centre. As a result, today the company unveiled its plans for a new centre to be built at Rutherford.
We see a huge need for training our young people in all the trades. We have a wonderful new site. We'll build a brand new facility and it'll be absolutely state of the art.
Expected to be up and running by 2014, the extra space will mean it can offer new courses alongside traditional training.
One of the ones that we're concentrating on now and where there's a heavy demand is hydraulic pneumatic. It's a big need in the mining industry and we do basic hydraulics here, but we'll be expanding it.
It's one of the main things they need to improve on here, so the introduction of the hydraulic systems and the training over at the new facility should be great to help develop the apprentices.
As for the current site, which has a privately operated railway system with access to the main line, it will be transformed into a centre for rail training. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
At 6'2" and only 16, Victoria Unicum is well aware of her biggest asset.
My heart.
Selected to play 3-on-3 for the Australian under-18 side in the Youth Olympics, those closest to the teenager have big expectations.
I think she'll go all the way. I think she'll be picked up. She might be the next Lauren Jackson, you never know. So, yeah, that's what we're hoping for, obviously. She deserves it.
With aspirations of playing college basketball in the US, the 16-year-old will ply her trade with the Mustangs in the meantime. Their women's side is due to re-enter the Waratah Basketball League, and Unicum is expected to be a big part of their 2013 campaign.
Yeah, we'd like to blood her into our ABA women's or WCL women's team this year and see how she goes from there. She'll obviously be an apprentice in that grade, but yeah, I think she'll handle it very well.
But she's not the only Mustang getting revved up for a big season. Star import Mitch Reeder will return and could be joined by a fellow American. Standing at 7'6", former Harlem Globetrotter Shagaria Lane is close to signing.
Obviously, he's a marketing tool as well as a basketballer, but just, you know, the overall aspect of having another import really helped us. It showed this year having two imports makes a big difference, and I think for basketball as a whole, you know, getting Americans out here and guys that can play basketball is really good for the sport.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
We'll do our bit to, you know, get under his skin as much as possible.
We're looking forward to a good game on the weekend, and for someone to come out and, you know, sort of say that the focus of the game is going to be to try and wind up one of our players to maybe tip him over the edge is it's disappointing.
The addition of 3 new battle honours to your squadron standard. Honours of Malaya, the Thai-Malay border and the Malaysia confrontation.
It only comes out for very special occasions such as today, so the banner might only see light of day every 1 or 2 years or so.
So that is basically why we're here, to try and raise funds to help support the smaller clubs. And apart from that, have some fun as well. A lot of people don't realise that we've got a good sense of humour.
And the fans seem to be enjoying it. As I said, the questions that they've asked, we have tried to do our best in answering them. And every now and then I've got to bring Curtly back in line.
The Jets haven't registered a clean sheet all season. Against the Heart, that prospect vanished instantly. Newcastle's ability to score goals mean the likes of Scott Neville and Connor Chapman will get another chance to impress in defence.
I'd rather still have the opportunity to win a game 4-3 than to consistently lose 1-0 or 2-0 because we're not playing.
Bernardo Ribeiro retains his place in midfield. Matt Nash will once again take the keeper's gloves. As for Brisbane, it's clear they're bracing for a fight.
For the assistant coach to wade into the argument, one in, all in, if the referees don't protect us, then we'll protect ourselves and things like that. I mean, it's just crazy, That's why you have the referee there, and we're not into that.
Gary Van Egmond today spoke about his reasons behind the rejection of a big money offer to move to Sydney. The man known as Dutchie has a plan to eventually move aside for assistant coach Craig Deans and take on a technical director role. And put simply, Newcastle just feels like home.
We don't look at Sydney as being a place to go back home. It's a place to visit.
Winner takes all, basically. Whoever wins the series become the number 1 in the world. So I would want to play my best and strongest team in this particular game. So the rotation process for me would have to be after you have won a series. I mean, no one would have been strong enough to drag me away from the Waka.
For the game, and we just need to promote Test cricket, I think, a little bit more. I wouldn't want them to scrap T20 or not have it as international, because I think it has a part to play as well. It's just combining and striking the right balance so that one doesn't overkill the other.
It was a tip-off from a concerned mother that led to the arrest of a 65-year-old man in Newcastle. He's been accused of abusing the teenage girl believed to be his foster daughter on several occasions between 2010 and 2012.
The man has been charged with 5 counts of aggravated sexual assault and 1 count of aggravated indecent assault.
A mother of one of the girl's school friends alerted police after her daughter told her a school friend was being abused. An hour later, police removed the young girl from his care.
It's a horrific thing for a young child to be subject to sexual abuse.
Police today took the opportunity to remind the public to come forward if they suspect a child is being abused.
With children of very tender age, they may not realise they're being abused. And they may not know what is happening to them is wrong, And that's why it's important for people that do know what is happening is wrong to report that to the police.
The 65-year-old faced Newcastle local court this morning after being arrested yesterday afternoon. He didn't apply for bail and it was formally refused. The case has been adjourned until the 23rd of January. Diana Bushby, NBN News. The silly season is certainly upon us and shoppers are out searching for that something special. And it's shaping up to be just that for retailers.
Our sales are increasing on last year across the centre, so we're on track to have over 50,000 people here today.
Meanwhile, foot traffic in the inner city is far less frantic. Council changes to parking, which came into force today, are designed to see less of this and more of this. But not everyone's buying it.
Paying for parking before 12 in Hunter Street, how's that going to help bring business in? Businesses are all closed after 12 o'clock on a Saturday.
Parking is now free all weekend at Number 2 Sports Ground, The Hill and City East. But drivers will still have to pay before noon on Saturday at Civic and City West. While at Honeysuckle and the Foreshore, you'll still be hit in the hip pocket all weekend.
We want to bring the kids out in the morning and go to the shops, and waiting after 12 doesn't work for us.
I just steer clear because of the parking. It's always an issue.
But not all businesses are feeling the pinch. Frontline Hobbies is seeing a welcome 15% surge in seasonal sales.
Lead up to Christmas has been excellent. In fact, we're probably bucking the trend.
This year, sales of remote-controlled aircraft are really taking off. Advances in technology have made them better and cheaper. Kath Landers, NBN News.
Aaron and Drew Russell lined up 9th and 10th on the grid. They narrowly avoided this on the first turn. Teammate Michael Hector was caught up in the carnage. Back with the leaders, the Russell brothers were making their presence felt. Aaron and Drew neck and neck and on the verge of the top 5. Their rivals tried everything to gain ground. Drew can finish as high as 8th in the series following this weekend, but this afternoon he was overshadowed by his little brother. In the end, Aaron settled for 7th, Drew comfortable inside the top 10.
unlocking what could potentially be the future for Newcastle's cycling community. With work on the Broadmeadows cycling circuit sitting idle, the progress that's already been made is now hidden by undergrowth. Craig Chapman's been part of the project from the beginning and is desperate to see it through.
Having it so close, but yet so far, is a little bit frustrating.
The track is designed to provide competitive and recreational cyclists with a safer alternative to riding on the road. Coincidentally, while interviewing Bernard Hocking from Newcastle Cycleways, we were given a reminder of the track's importance.
It gets you off the roads. That's a good example that when you do have to ride on the roads, you've got to put up with morons like that.
Those driving the project will apply for state government funds.
Where we're short at the moment is the funds to complete the pavement and the road base.
They need about another 20 to 30,000, and I'm very hopeful they can get it through community building partnerships.
If and when this track is complete, Newcastle will then be able to boast a facility which is on par with other regional centres such as Taree, Port Macquarie, Coffs Harbour and Grafton.
There's a real void here, and once it's completed, it'll close that gap.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
The Jets have enjoyed plenty of success in Brisbane, but things didn't go according to plan last night. James Brown is still searching for his first Newcastle goal. When Scott Neville received an early card for time wasting, referee Brenton Hayward made a statement. Josh Mitchell had no complaints about his first yellow. Bessart Berisha scored from the spot to silence the Novocastrians. Then came the talking point. A seemingly innocuous challenge by Thomas Broich was followed by some push and shove. Mitchell received a second yellow, Connor Chapman his first, and Broich a straight red. Both teams were down to 10 men. Ryan Griffiths tried to level the score as well. 30 seconds later, he earned a fifth yellow for the season, meaning he'll miss the F3 derby. Matt Nash continues to stake his claim in goals. Even the introduction of super subs Craig Goodwin and James Vigili couldn't salvage a point. Post-match, the coach was more worried about the referee's effort than his team's.
We got 7 yellow cards, plus Josh Mitchell, I think that's 8 yellow cards. They didn't get 1 yellow card. I'm going to leave it at that.
All we're trying to do is level a playing field with us, the health system, psych system, with regards to income, so that we can attract more people to our disability service here, which is a great form of nursing.
Another week, another visit from the opposition leader. This time, John Robertson is taking aim at the government's plans to slash jobs from hospitals.
The hunter is bearing the brunt of these costs and once again being neglected by the O'Farrell government.
He says a Freedom of Information document reveals 103 jobs will be lost from Hunter New England Health's front line.
These are positions like physiotherapists, radiographers, speech pathologists, nurse unit managers, all cuts leading to worse health outcomes for anybody who find themselves in our health system.
But Newcastle MP Tim Owen says there's no need for alarm.
Well, I mean, it's typical of the garbage he comes out with.
And that any cuts are about ridding the system of expensive indulgences and getting better value for money.
What we are doing, we are looking to increase permanent staff and cut back where we can on the expensive side of health, like, for instance, expensive locums and expensive agency staff.
Christy Reading, NBN News.
They might have come straight off the back of a truck, but the boys at Novocastrian Motorsport know these aren't cheap imitations. At Homebush over the weekend, Tim Slade's Ford Falcon FG grabbed pole for the opening V8 supercar race. Scott McLaughlin's Falcon helped him finish first overall in the Dunlop Series. Now those cars will lead the charge for 2/3 of the Novocastrian team in 2013. Having completed his rookie season in 19th, Michael Hector has big ambitions for next year.
We're definitely going to be in the 10, all of us, and it wouldn't surprise me if one of us actually win the series next year.
Aaron Russell will take charge of Slade's Ford.
My expectation is that it'll win. I don't think you can have any other expectations when you've had a car like this.
The team is still searching for its third V8 for Drew Russell.
There's a couple of different options there at the moment. The biggest thing holding us back at the moment is budget, so we've just got to try and sort out the dollars and then get there.
For now, the boys will start modifying the 2 new vehicles, hoping to begin testing in late January, ahead of the season opener in Adelaide in February.
It's really just doing maintenance again, getting a head around what the cars are and like every dial on the steering wheel that I'm looking at going, oh, what does that do? And those kind of things, and then do some testing and see where we're at.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
I think the most important thing for us is to take that performance, back it up again, take it to Canberra and shake the hell out of it down there.
"8 years, 4 architects and a change of government later, there's still little movement on Newcastle's art gallery redevelopment. But tonight's council meeting could make or break the $21 million project.
I'm hoping that a bit of sanity will prevail.
Council will vote on a motion to pick up the state government's $7 million slack.
We've put in $7 million, the federal government's put in $7 million, and now it's time for the state to walk their talk.
If approved, ratepayers will fork out the funds, a move that isn't likely to get backing from the Mayor.
That doesn't sit well with me at all. At this point in time, I think it's just too much money. We need the opportunity to find other sources of funding.
Sydney deserves to give us $7 million. In the great scheme of things, it's not a very big amount of money, and they have really let us down.
Meanwhile, there could be relief for inner city shoppers, with a free 2-month parking trial in the CBD up for council's consideration.
This is something the councillors can do for the traders right now that will boost their income over the Christmas period.
Instead of rushing around, I could take time to have a coffee or something and sit down and relax, buy a few more things, you know.
If customers have their choice of going out to the shopping centres where they don't have to pay, or where they're coming in here where it's $4 an hour, you know, it makes the choice pretty easy.
Christy Reading, NBN News.
When it comes to revitalising Newcastle, what do Novocastrians really want? According to the preliminary results of the Property Council's City Poll, the wish list includes a university campus in the CBD, the removal of level crossings, an increase in small bars, more apartments in the city, and restoration of the historic post office. The results of the survey will be delivered to Premier Barry O'Farrell and Lord Mayor Jeff McCloy.
We're also hoping it gives some impetus, some momentum to the government actually releasing some policies on urban renewal in Newcastle, which are long overdue.
It's all in a bid to pressure the government to release the city's urban renewal policy, the future of which rests with one of the city's never-ending sagas. The Newcastle Urban Renewal Policy won't be released until the New South Wales Cabinet has made a decision on the heavy rail line. Meanwhile, council has come under fire for delaying the spending of more than $5 million budgeted to revitalise Hunter Street.
Please just start spending it. It's the excuse that they're waiting on state government policies is really not cutting it anymore.
All we need to do is a workshop and a quick meeting to have a direction given to the General Manager to get on with it. It's not a hard thing.
City poll closes tomorrow night. Visit the website to submit your comments. Stephanie Jeans, NBN News. Aaron Mexon's just had his wheels taken from under his nose.
Got home Friday afternoon and noticed my motorcycle or quad bike was stolen from my house.
And he's not alone.
There seems to be a spike in the number of stolen bikes and quads in the last month. It's been quite quiet for the last 6 months, but in the last month it's definitely picked up again.
Statistically, we average about 6 thefts a month. However, in October there was a slight increase where that figure doubled.
Aaron's now turned to Facebook to try and find those responsible, offering a reward for information leading to the return of his ride. He hopes the close-knit riding community will help him out.
Everyone knows each other's bikes and I'm hoping that's the way I get it recovered.
We're aware that there is a slight increase there and our special operations group are looking at it.
Police are now urging riders to keep their bikes secure, even if they're only unattended for a short period of time.
A lot of the thefts occurring in driveways and from open sheds, etc.
Kath Landers, NBN News.
There's a website, witnesskingtides.org, and they register on that site and they can upload their photos, you can share photos.
When Wayne Bennett talks rugby league, people tend to listen. This morning's session was the media's first chance to quiz the Supercoach about recent developments in the game, and he didn't hold back. The NRL's TV deal and the potential for a big increase in salaries for the top players drew a passionate response.
I wish they'd spend a lot more time talking about their teammate that's getting $60,000 a year, how they could get him more, and then I'd be saying, well, hell, I'm really pleased for everybody for the pay increase, but I don't see that little guy getting mentioned at all.
Israel Folau's move to rugby union was also on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm disappointed, but I'm realistic as well. It's a choice that he made it, so it wasn't the game. I think the game was doing all it could within its rules, and probably bend the rules a little bit to try and accommodate him.
As for the Knights, Bennett was happy to sing the praises of his new look squad. He believes Kurt Gidley's return from injury will provide a huge boost of confidence leading into 2013. And there's no doubt about which role the captain will fill.
Oh, he'll definitely play halfback. And so we just need to get him trained. He's got a little calf strain at the moment, so he's not there today, which is disappointing for me because we need to do as much work with him as we can. He hasn't done anything for 12 months.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. Wayne Bennett admits he's a lot more comfortable as he starts his second season in charge at the Knights. Statements such as this one will be music to the ears of Newcastle fans.
Pleased to be here last year, but I'm more confident about being here this year because I know what we got here now, and I know what we can do and what we can't do, and we all know where we're heading.
Bennett also put to rest any concern about the club's financial position under Nathan Tinkler.
No, he's all good, and as I said, we're obviously not immune to what the speculation is, but it's had no impact on me personally or anybody else here. We're getting on with getting the job done.
That job now includes getting Kurt Gidley back to full fitness, ready to resume his role at halfback, while continuing to nurture young talent such as Tyrone Roberts. The Premiership winner also had plenty of praise for the enthusiasm of veterans such as Willie Mason and Danny Badiris, crediting the pair with helping to keep the Knights competitive at the end of the 2012 season. Bennett is keen to see the Knights get out of the blocks quickly next year, with off-season recruits such as David Fayalongo key to turning things around.
I hope next year when we pull up on the bus, they're saying, here come the Knights, and we got ourselves a tough game on our hands today. And that's what those guys bring. They have a reputation.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. With Josh Mitchell and Ryan Griffiths already ruled out of the derby with the Mariners, this was the last thing the Jets needed. Jobe Wheelhouse went down clutching his knee midway through training and was helped from the pitch. The club believes the captain may have suffered between a Grade 1 and Grade 2 sprain to his medial collateral ligament, ruling him out of Saturday's game. He'll now have scans to confirm the extent of the damage. The timing couldn't be worse, with Newcastle coming off the back of a tough loss to Brisbane and preparing to welcome the A-League leaders.
They've been playing well every week. They're probably the most consistent team in the comp, so it'll be definitely a tough game. But we're at home, and I think we did all right last week. We'll take something positive out of that game.
Matt Nash is only here because of injuries to other keepers. He's hoping to turn his short stint into a full-time career somewhere in the competition.
Personal training is just something I do on the side, really. But yeah, if something come up, I'd jump at the chance.
Bernardo Ribeiro admits he's getting more confident every time he plays, with Advisory Board Chairman Ray Bartz taking a special interest in the midfielder. Having featured in some famous derbies in Brazil in front of 35,000 people, Ribeiro is hoping for another intimidating atmosphere this Saturday night.
And I want to invite the fans, the members to come to the stadium to help us. It's very important for us. We play with 12 players because the fans is one more for us.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. Jobe Wheelhouse is no stranger to injury setbacks. A day after limping off the pitch at training, the skipper reportedly has some movement in his knee, providing hope he'll be back sooner rather than later.
Initial thoughts from the physio was grade 2, but again, we just have to wait and see from the scan on Thursday.
In his absence, Gary Van Egmond has compiled a short list of candidates to take the captain's armband, including Ruben Zadkovic, Scott Neville and Emil Heskey. Following an impressive start to the season, the former England international has been off target in recent weeks.
Probably those chances early on he was putting away, and now he hasn't. But the most important part is he's still getting opportunities.
The coach has been forced into a range of other changes. Josh Brillante and Jacob Pepper are the front runners to replace Wheelhouse in midfield. Craig Goodwin and Taylor Regan get their chance to stake a claim for a starting spot, with Ryan Griffiths and Josh Mitchell both suspended. The team's poor disciplinary record was the hot topic after the loss to Brisbane. Van Egmond has voiced his displeasure about conceding pointless yellow cards and has decided to put the responsibility for discipline back on the senior players.
We don't really want to talk about it anymore and concentrate on football.
It's a good rivalry for me. It's, I think it's good that they hate players, and we don't really like them that much either. But it's kind of good. It's what makes us try to play better.
When Hunter Christian School Principal Boyd Allen came to work today, the last thing he expected to find was a World War II grenade on his desk before 9.
My head of primary, John Rowland, came into me and said, "Boyd, I have something you might want to know about," and he followed to put a Coles bag on my desk with what appeared to be a very old and rusty grenade in.
Students were quickly evacuated as police moved in, putting the Mayfield Street in lockdown. Parents who received a message to collect their children were amused, but slightly alarmed.
First I thought it was funny, just simply because it's show and tell. But then the seriousness of it, it is a very serious thing.
Students were left a little bewildered.
I was a little scared, but it was kind of funny at first.
The 11-year-old girl who brought the grenade in and her family didn't want to be identified, but it's believed it was given to the girl by a neighbour.
It was given to them from someone they know. When they were given it, they were given assurances that it was safe.
Bomb experts from the Defence Force arrived almost 3 hours later and took it away for testing. While the device was removed safely, authorities say the incident shouldn't be taken lightly, with a grenade of this type potentially able to cause significant damage.
In a classroom, certainly if it was live and it was a fully functioning device, it would probably cause serious injury to all the occupants.
This afternoon, images of the grenade were released, with experts confirming not all explosive components had been removed.
There's a lot of unexploded ordnance that comes into our possession from time to time, and it's timely to remind people that if you do come across any devices, particularly munitions, that you alert the police.
Kath Landers, NBN News. A 7 votes to 6 win for the gallery and a collective sigh of relief from art lovers across the city.
We're so delighted. The council did the right thing.
The gallery's multi-million-dollar makeover is now a done deal, but Labor councillor Tim Crackenthorpe maintains the member for Newcastle hasn't done enough to directly pressure the state government to cough up the remaining $7 million.
He has to stop washing his hands of it and saying it's up to the Hunter Infrastructure Fund. He has to go to the Treasurer and get a commitment for the next budget for that money.
But Tim Owen says he's exhausted those options.
I wrote to the Premier, I've written to the Minister for the Arts, I've written to the Treasurer, and they have directed that it goes through the Hunter Infrastructure Fund, which is exactly what we have set that fund up for.
The actual motion that went through last night was to halt all development until we have a definitive yes or no from this state government.
And that's a decision which may take some time. The Hunter Infrastructure and Investment Fund's board has to assess the application, make a recommendation to the state government and then await its verdict. And the art gallery is not the only project vying for state assistance.
We're going as fast as what we possibly can, but we have about 40 other applications which we must consider.
Inundated with applications, and there's only $120 million left in the fund's piggy bank.
Yes, hopefully we will have some good news. Whether it will be the art gallery's application or not, I can't say at this stage.
Meanwhile, Council has also voted to ease the hip pocket pain for motorists this festive season. It's pushing ahead with a 2-hour free parking trial throughout the city, which will run from the 10th of December until Australia Day. Stephanie Jeans, NBN News.
With the push for a fourth coal terminal gathering steam, the Hunters Coal Terminal Action Group is ramping up their fight.
We'll have the equipment for 1 month, which will be long enough to monitor 10 houses for a week each.
They believe the equipment will help expose negative health impacts associated with coal dust pollution.
Right now, about 100 million tonnes of coal leaves Newcastle. With the fourth terminal, that could double or even triple, which would mean double or triple the amount of coal dust that people in Newcastle and the Hunter are living with.
But a recent study by the Australian Rail Track Corporation found coal trains don't produce any more dust than any other type. Dr Tobias Krul from the University of Newcastle says he believes the group could have difficulty identifying where the dust is coming from.
Depending on the day and depending on obviously how long this study has been or will be done for, how long of a period of time, whether it'll stretch through winter and summer and obviously through different conditions, they will see very different results.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.